emergency requirements as issued by the state of Iowa and the city of Des Moines. Okay, I believe we have a roll call. Tyler? I think we have a quorum, so we'll do a roll call.
Emily Webb.
Here.
Jan Freed.
Here.
Kayla Berkson.
Here.
Dory Briles.
Here.
Abby Chungeth.
Here.
Steve Wallace.
Here.
Will Page.
Here.
Johnny Alcivar.
Here.
Carolyn Jennison.
Here.
Greg Jones.
Here.
And Lisa Howard.
Here.
Rocky Sposato. See him on the list. So we do have a quorum. We have 11 present.
Okay, thanks, Tyler. Approval of the minutes. Were there any corrections, revisions, any comments about the minutes? Okay. Seeing none, hearing none. Do we have a motion?
This is
Jan, this is Carolyn.
Oh, sorry.
Okay,
Go
Carolyn.
ahead and move.
Okay,
Move minutes.
thank you. Okay, Tyler. So we have a motion to pass the minutes.
Johnny Alcivar.
Yes.
Will Page.
Yes.
Emily Webb.
Yes.
Jan Freed.
Yes.
Kayla Berkson.
Yes.
Lisa Howard.
Yes.
Steve Wallace.
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison.
Yes.
Abby Chungeth.
Yes.
Greg Jones.
Yes.
And Dory Browse.
Abstain.
Motion carries 10-0-1.
Thanks, Tyler. I'll now read the consent public hearing items. Number 1, request from Plymouth Church of Des Moines, represented by Emily Tripp, for a fourth amendment to the Plymouth Congregational Church PUD conceptual plan for property located in the vicinity of 4126 Ingersoll Avenue to allow roof-mounted solar panels on the church building. Is there anyone in the audience who wants to pull this item? Anyone who wants to hear this item? Raise your hand or star. What did I just say?
Star 9.
Star 9 on the phone. I'm going to look. Okay, I'm not seeing any. Is there anyone on the commission who would like to pull this item from consent? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Okay, item number 2. This is a continuing item from September 3rd. Request from Brown Dog Realty, represented by David Kearns, to rezone property at 2110 Wakanda View Drive. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to hear this item? Raise your hand or star 9, please. Okay, I'm not seeing any. Anyone on the commission who would like to hear this item? Okay. Item number 3. Request from Adam Hawksby for review and approval of a public hearing site plan for the following type 2 design alternative in accordance with chapter 135 sections 135-9.2.4b and 135-9.3.1b for property located at 2939 East Douglas Avenue in order to allow expansion of an attached garage on a house type A in an N1B neighborhood district where the west interior side yard width of 6 feet 8 inches. This would be 3 feet 4 inches less than the minimum required 10 feet side yard on one side required per section 135-2.13.3.a.5. The proposed total side yard width is 44 feet 9 inches. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to hear this item? Either raise your hand or star 9 on your phone. Okay, I'm not seeing any. Is there anyone on the commission who would like to hear this item? Okay, not seeing any there either. Item number 4, request from Rally Cap, represented by Ryan Francis, for review and approval of a public hearing site plan for the following type 2 design alternative in accordance with chapter 135, sections 135-9.2.4.b and 135-9.3.1.b for property located at 1115 35th Street in order to allow construction to be completed of a 16-foot by 22-foot detached garage within the rear yard area for a house type D in an N5 neighborhood district, where the garage would be within 3 feet of both the south and east property lines. This would be 2 feet, 40%, less than the minimum required 5 feet of setback from side and rear property lines per section 135-2.22.1.d.3. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to pull this item? You'd like to hear this item? Raise your hand or star 9 on your phone, please. Okay, I'm not seeing any. Anyone on the commission who would like to hear this item? Okay, again, I'm not seeing any. Number 5, item number 5, request from Richard Miller for review and approval of a public hearing site plan electric pump for a type 2 design alternative in accordance with chapter 135, sections 135-9.2.4.b and 135-9.3.1.b for property located at 4260 East 14th Street to allow construction of a 7,200 square foot workshop/warehouse type building in a L1, is that I1 industrial district with on-site parking within the front yard area when only permitted in the side or rear yard area per section 135-2.9.3.a.8. Is there anyone in the audience who would like, or online, who would like to hear this item? Please raise your hand or star 9 on your phone. Okay, not seeing any. Anyone on the commission who'd like to hear this item? Okay, I'm not hearing any. Item number 6, it's a continued item from September 3rd again. Request to Mundo Pequeñito, represented by Guadalupe Castillo, for the following regarding the property at 1922 Southwest 1st Street. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to hear this item? Please raise your hand or star 9 on your phone. I'm not seeing anyone. Anyone on the commission who would like to hear this item? And I'm not seeing anyone. Okay. All right. Hold on. Okay. Now it's time for the public, public hearing items. Well, hold on. Are there any other items that staff that could be moved to consent?
Madam Chair, this is Eric Lundy, Senior City Planner.
Mm-hmm.
Staff would indicate that item 10 could be moved to the consent if there's nobody present that wishes to speak.
Okay. I'll read item number 10. Request from Carl Bolser for review and approval of a public hearing site plan for the following type 2 design alternative in accordance with chapter 135, sections 135-9.2.4.b and 135-9.3.1b for property located at 1417 44th Street in order to allow construction of a 21.5 foot by 21.5 foot detached garage within the rear yard area for a house type D in an N5 neighborhood district where the garage would be within 1 foot of the north side lot line and within 2.75 feet of the east rear property line. This would be 4 feet or 80% less from the north and 2.25 feet, 45% less from the east than the minimum required 5 feet of setback from side and rear property lines per section 135-2.22.1.d.3. Is there anyone in the audience or online who would like to hear this item?
Madam Chair, this is Eric Lundy, Senior City Planner. I do want to point out that the staff recommendation is to go to 2 feet so that it would be only an appeal of 3 feet. And they've agreed to that, is my understanding.
Okay. Is there anyone online who would like to hear this item? Please raise your hand or star 9. Okay. Is there anyone on the commission who would like to hear this item? Okay. I'm not seeing anyone. Can I have a motion for item number 10?
Jan, this is Carolyn. I'll move item 10.
Thanks, Carolyn. Tyler?
Lisa Howard. Lisa Howard.
Yes.
Steve Wallace.
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison. Carolyn. Greg Jones.
Yes.
Abby Chungith.
Yes.
Will Page.
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar.
Yes.
Emily Webb.
Yes.
Dory Briles.
Yes.
Jan Freed.
Yes.
Kayla Berkson.
Yes.
Motion carries to move item 10 to the consent agenda 11-0.
Okay, thank you. So we are looking at, for the consent items.
Jan, this is Will Page. May I interrupt you just for a minute, please?
Yes.
On the staff report for item number 7A through 7D, the staff recommendation was that the commission continue the public hearing on consideration of the proposed items until their October 15th, 2020 meeting. A complete staff report and recommendation will be provided with the commission packet for that meeting. Has that been voided?
Well, there'll be a correction. That's a typo, so that would be the 2021 meeting. I'm sorry. That would be the October 15th, 2020 meeting.
Oh, okay, I see. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the consent items include 1 through 6 and item number 10. Do we have a motion to approve the consent items?
This is Emily Webb. I'll move.
Thanks, Emily. Tyler?
Kayla Berkson.
Yes.
Lisa Howard.
Yes.
Steve Wallace.
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison.
Yes.
Greg Jones.
Yes.
Abby Chungith.
Yes.
Will Page.
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar.
Yes.
Emily Webb,
Yes.
Lori Browse,
Yes.
and Jan Freed.
Yes.
Motion to approve consent agenda passes 11-0.
Okay, thanks, Tyler. It's now time for the public hearing items. And it's my understanding that number 7 has been asked to be continued. Is that true?
Yes, Madam Chair, and as Will pointed out, it's the recommendation is to continue it to October 15th meeting of the commission.
Okay. So we need a motion to continue that, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Motion, please.
I'll move to continue item number 7.
Thank you, Will. Roll call, Tyler?
Lori Browse,
Yes.
Jan Freed,
Yes.
Kayla Bergson,
Yes.
Lisa Howard,
Yes.
Steve Wallace,
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison,
Yes.
Greg Jones,
Yes.
Abby Shungeth,
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar,
Yes.
and Emily Webb.
Yes.
Motion to continue item 7 to the October 15th, 2020 meeting passes 11-0.
Thank you. I think someone has a dog who approved that also.
Yeah, that'd be me. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we're in the public hearing items, and now we're on item number 8. Request from Greater Des Moines Habitat for Humanity, represented by Tammy Krykex, for a public hearing site plan to allow appeal of the administrative denial of a type 1 design alternative in accordance with chapter 135, section 135-9.2.4.b and 135-9.3.1.b for property located at 1911 Franklin Avenue to allow a one household house type D dwelling in an N5 neighborhood district to be constructed on the property without the required garage per section 135-2.16.3.e.5. Catherine?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the commission, Catherine Jostart. Hopefully you should be seeing my screen in just a moment. As mentioned, this property is located at 1911 Franklin Avenue. This is to the south and west of the intersection of Hickman and north and southbound MLK. Habitat has been working on a number of properties in this area. And as you can see, it's located on Franklin, and they are actually building on the property adjacent as well, and then a couple of others in the immediate vicinity. A little context here. This is the house to the west, and then moving through the photos, you could see along the street here where they are constructing at this time. The analysis that we did regarding the garages within the 250-foot area per the code requirement found that there are an equal amount of properties with and without garages, which our threshold is a 50% threshold. And so in this case, it triggers the need for a garage on this property. We will note that the property adjacent where they are building Habitat is installing a garage in this case. Per usual analysis, we did find that of the properties, half that are residentially zoned do have garages. The one that is not residentially zoned belongs to a church. Here are a couple of here are the type 1 design alternatives that have already been approved by staff. We are providing significant leeway in the form of a 29% reduction to the interior side setback, as well as a 7% reduction to the total interior side setback, so that that house will fit both on the parcel as well as a proper driveway, and then a nearly 15% reduction in the required floor area for a house, a 1.5-story house that does not have a full basement. And then we also have a small reduction for the overall story height and as well as the maximum front yard coverage. We do note that they are intending to install a 10-foot by 12-foot shed in lieu of the required garage, but the required 288 square foot garage would adequately fit within the same area that they are proposing this shed, and the parcel would more than sufficiently, it has a sufficient amount of space to place a garage on this parcel. And we understand that the 40-foot wide lot that they are working on can be challenging, but they have the depth behind the proposed house to fit this garage. And we have found through past analysis that garages, especially in houses that don't have full basements, provide the adequate storage that a family requires, as well as a place to put things like bicycles and trash bins and toys to help both the character of the neighborhood as well as a pride of ownership for the property owners. As such, based on our analysis, staff is recommending a denial of the request to build without the garage. And then our consent map shows that we did not receive any communication back from the notification within the 250-foot radius. And we have a couple of narratives and maps provided from Habitat available, but I do believe that they will be discussing these in their presentation. Mr. Henning, I believe, is representing Habitat this evening, and will be able to go over any of these, but I am more than happy to come back to these items if anyone would like to look at them closer. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have for staff.
Any questions for Catherine at this time from the commission? Okay. If the applicant's online, please state your name and address. And star 9 to unmute.
Oh,
Star six to unmute. Yeah.
am I on now?
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the commission. Lance Henning, serve as Executive Director of Greater Des Moines Habitat for Humanity. We're located at 2200 East Euclid Avenue. We're here in good faith and with good intentions. Habitat for Humanity is working to do what's best for the hardworking citizens of this city. And we're thankful to bring this item forward for your consideration. We can go to the next slide. The house proposed is a 3-bedroom, a little over 1,100 square feet finished. It does have 600 square feet of unfinished space in the basement. It is, as noted earlier, there on a 40-foot wide lot that does create additional challenges of trying to fit onto the lot. And we would provide a 12 by 10 shed. So we do believe there's adequate room for bikes, mowers, and all kinds of things for the unfinished basement as well, for as far as storage. The home buyer will be a Des Moines resident earning less than 60% of the area median income. Next slide. This just shows the block on there. So the top row there is the proposed house and next door, and then across the street on there. Go ahead, next slide. So immediately on it, the house under construction on the right there, 1901 Franklin's the house under construction. So that's the house being built there. And As noted earlier on there, we are building a garage as a part of that. There's an alley that runs right along the side of the house, actually running parallel to the side of the house, and the garage will come off of that alley. Takes significant time and effort to request a design alternative. And so this would be an example that with Habitat's limited resources, people resources, that we didn't have the opportunity to ask for relief and don't have the opportunity to ask for relief on every garage. And so our limited people resources and schedule didn't allow for the significant time and effort required to come before P&Z on 1901 Franklin. It's also a year when our volunteer resources are down 65% due to the pandemic. So 1901 Franklin, specifically a volunteer sponsor group that's coming out in full force. And it was particularly important that we were timely with the foundation and kept on schedule for those volunteers to be able to help us. Also note on there, so next to 1913 Franklin is 1915 Franklin that we are planning to build a house there. The building permit's been issued on there. It would be the same plan as the 1901 Franklin that you see pictured on there. And that house at 1915 Franklin did meet the below 50% threshold and was granted a type 1 exemption. So next to 1913 Franklin, they're 2 lots away from 1911, that there will be no garage, and we'll build a 10 by 12 shed as part of that. So plenty of room for mowers, bikes, and other exterior items. We have been asked about the garage costs. I just wanted to remind folks that it is $15,000. There is much more to a garage than a shed. It includes increased concrete to extend the driveway, increased concrete for a thickened slab or a trench footer, required electrical, running the service out to the house, lights, outlets. Have to purchase and install a garage door. And then also there's another exterior door that goes as part of that as well. All those do add significant costs. Next slide. We do believe the character of the neighborhood as it exists today is one that is less than majority garages. Next slide. When we look at that, and we believe it is reasonable that where a majority of the properties have no garage, that a request for design relief does match the character of the neighborhood. It invests in housing affordability, and design relief invests in families that want to participate in the American dream of homeownership. We have now surveyed throughout the Mondayman presidential neighborhood where this is located, and that across 628 houses, 56%, the majority do not have garage. As you look at that map on there, the blue piece and there is 1911 Franklin. The pink would be the properties that fall into the 250-foot radius that was counted as part of the garage count on there. And then the orange is the Mondayman presidential neighborhood. Next slide. The formula on there, and it looks like it had changed slightly from what we had before. It was originally 25 of 49, so it looked like it was 24 or 48 now. So it's 50%. I think it still relies on 6 vacant properties to get there. So we do want to note that actual properties with garages are significantly lower than 50%, and that vacant properties play the factor in getting to that 50% number. Next slide. And I'm not sure the house with 1915 Franklin, where that was counted in the first counting, it was counted as a property that would have a garage. So that might have been the part of the switch on the properties on there. But I do want to point out that there are some lots that are effectively used as side lots, that these lots are vacant. They are owned by the neighboring house. They are fenced in along with the house as one lot. So they're used as the side yard to the house. You know, these are 40 and 50-foot lots throughout here. So adding a little bit on the side yard, you can see how folks would use that. And then the lots were sold with the house together, all as one in the last property transaction. So there's a low probability that those would be used as separate development anytime in the foreseeable future for quite a time down the road. The calculation on there, if you took those two lots that are used as side yards, then you would be down below 49% in the garage count as part of it. Go to the next slide. And just a reminder that the Habitat homes are adding significant value to the neighborhoods. This house plan with no garage has appraised from 146 to 199. If we assume 146,500 value at 1911 Franklin, at that 250-foot radius on there, taking all those properties into account, the average assessed value is $63,000. The median's actually just about 52,000. So looking at that, then the proposed property with no garage is 2.3 times greater in value than the average value in the neighborhood. I think this is significant when you think about that this is a piece that, if you compare it to a neighborhood where the housing value average was $225,000, it'd be the equivalent of adding a house worth over $500,000. So it's reasonable to say that adding additional costly amenities to a home already valued at 2.3 times the value in the neighborhood would not bring additional benefit to the neighborhood. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. We do want to say thanks for your consideration. The neighborhood for this project does not have a majority of properties with garages. It is a neighborhood that has less than 50% as a characteristic as long for garages. We believe we are following the intention of what's trying to go on with the zoning code and following this to ask for design relief and for the garage in the neighborhood and in a neighborhood without majority garages. And then requiring additional amenities in a house already 2.3 times the value of the surrounding area has significantly greater impact on the project's affordability than additional uplifting effect on the neighborhood. So we would like to say thank you for your consideration to grant relief on the garage requirement in a year of strong headwinds with some skyrocketing lumber and material supply challenges and low numbers of volunteers. Your help to consider housing affordability matters. Thank you, and I would be glad to answer any questions from the commission.
Questions for Mr. Henning from the commission? Any questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. Is there anyone else who wants to speak in favor of this proposal? Please raise your hand or *9 on your phone if you want to speak in favor of this proposal. Okay. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition or you have concerns about this proposal? Again, raise your hand or *9 on your phone. Okay, I'm not seeing any. Well, it's time to close the public hearing. Discussion from the commission.
This is Emily Webb.
Yeah, Emily.
I'd like to say thanks to Lance and Habitat because I think they do a great service for the Des Moines community by providing affordable housing and making the neighborhoods they put them in of higher value. And I think he laid out a really good argument for why a garage is not necessary in this case. So I would be inclined to move that we waive the requirement. But I'd like to hear other thoughts as well.
Yes, thank you, Emily. Other reactions?
This is Dory. I agree with Emily. I think he did a great job of all the reasons why being 2.3 times greater than the average price of a home without the garage. So I would be in favor of Emily's motion.
Okay, any other comments from the commission? Okay, so Emily has a motion that we are waiving the garage requirement. Tyler?
Jan Freed. Jan Freed.
Yes.
Kayla Berkson.
Yes.
Lisa Howard.
Yes.
Steve Wallace.
No.
Carolyn Jennison. Carolyn. Greg
Yes.
Jones. Thank you.
Yes.
Greg Jones.
No.
Abby Chunguth.
Yes.
Will Page.
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar.
Yes.
Emily Webb.
Yes.
Dory Browse.
Yes.
Motion for item 8 passes 9-2.
Thanks, Tyler. We are on item number 9. I'll read item number 9. Okay. Review and approval of a public hearing site plan for the following type 2 design alternatives and denied type 1 design alternatives in accordance with chapter 135, sections 135-9.2.4.b and 135-9.3.1.b for property located at 1527 Southeast 40th Street in order to allow expansion of a house type D in an A agricultural district. Jason?
Yeah, members of the commission, this is Jason Van Essen with the city's planning staff. Hopefully you're seeing my screen with I'm trying to get there. Here we go. All right, get the aerial up in front of you. Map identifying the subject property on the east side of Southeast 40th Street. It's in the southeast part of the city. Few photographs showing the house as it is today. The applicant's proposing an addition. We'll get to some design information. And then we have a couple photographs showing the street right away. Layout, you can see the footprint of the existing house and the addition to the north and to the east. Existing building floor plan, proposed floor plan, building elevations. See the south facade is the front facade, front door, facing south, not towards the street, which the street is to the west. There was a narrative provided by the applicant. We can come back to that. You also received a staff report in your packet. With all of these appeals, we always include all of the information from the code that provides guidance on the process for granting appeals, what should be looked at, character of the area, different criteria. There's any other remedies available. Application or the report, we have an analysis. And are recommending denial of the request for the waiver of the sidewalk along the street. New developments expected to install sidewalks. The commission's well aware of the discussions that have been had over the last few years about the importance of filling in gaps as they occur. So as staff, we can't support that request. We are supporting the request to keep the building or the front of the building, the front door oriented towards the south. They're not, as part of the project, the existing front door location would stay as is. We think that's a reasonable request to continue that orientation. Response map. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Jason from the commission? Okay, not seeing any. Is the applicant here? If so, if you're online, please state your name and address.
Peter Cherkis, 5327 Southeast 40th.
Okay, go ahead.
The sidewalk, I wanted to point out that there is not another sidewalk within 8/10 of a mile of the house to the west of us. And we are surrounded with bean fields and cornfields. We were looking to waive the sidewalk until it became closer to us, and we'd be willing to put it in when we had sidewalks coming to the area.
Okay, questions for Mr. Chirkas? Questions from the commission? Okay, not seeing any. Is there anyone else who wants to speak in favor of this proposal? Okay, is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition? Okay, not seeing any. Do we have any other questions for Jason from the commission? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Time for discussion.
Jan, this is Greg Jones.
Yeah, Greg.
I have a question for staff. We've seemed to go through this every time there's a sidewalk that there's not a sidewalk near. Is there any way Mr. Chirkas has said he's willing to put it in when it's closer. Is there a way to come to that agreement, or we just have to hope for the best, or is there any way to make that work?
This is Jason with staff. I'm trying to think back what we did, the discussion we had for the gentleman that was to the west of Fleur, Mike Ludwig. Do you recall? I know we talked a little bit about what the options were. I think it ended up just being granted. We didn't think there was a good mechanism. Mike, do you want to chime in on that?
Jason, that's what I remember, because there wasn't a way to tie them into it in.
Yeah, because the discussion is that we don't, we usually don't assess for sidewalks as a city. I had mentioned maybe an agreement where the applicant would sign waiving their right to protest any assignment or assessment, excuse me. But with sidewalks, they're generally not assessed like a roadway or streetscape project might be. And then I think the other thing that we talked about was maybe having money put in escrow, and with the time frame of when the rest of the sidewalk might be constructed, that the period of that would end. So I don't believe there was a good solution when we have these areas that if the city is going to come in with a project, it's probably, it's not in the CIP currently, so it's far enough out. There's not really a good solution from that perspective.
This is Jan. I had a similar question because it seems like, you have to start somewhere, but, and especially when the applicant's willing to do it at some time, I'm wondering if there's a solution that we could come up with, because we're going to continue to have cases like this, it appears.
Yeah, I mean, I think as staff, we can continue to look at that and try to find a solution. I agree that it's probably something that's going to continue to happen. At this point, unfortunately, tonight, I don't have a quick solution for you, but it's certainly an item for us to keep looking at and thinking through.
Other discussion?
Jan, this is Greg again.
Yes.
I'm okay if granting this, if we just put something in the motion that says that the owner has agreed at such future time that a sidewalk comes near his property that they'll put it in, and we can go back and look at the record if we need to, if there's any dispute. But I think that's probably as good as we can do at this point.
And I'm leaning in that direction too. So other comments, discussion?
Chair, if I could speak very quickly.
Yes.
This is Mike Ludwig. Yeah, the issue with like an escrow is that it's basically putting the funds into basically a bank account for the construction, and it would be just as easily to just construct it if you're going to escrow for it. In this instance, the only thing that I would say about the agreement is that if the property is transferred, I don't know unless there's a deed restriction or, something recorded on the deed that says that's a future obligation of the owner. Maybe our legal staff, Judy, could speak to that. But otherwise, if they sell the house and it's 10 years down the road or something, and they sell the house, that new owner would have no idea of the obligation to build the sidewalk. And so we'd lose that. So short of having something in it as a deed restriction recorded, so that future owners are put on notice, that would be my only suggestion.
Right, and this is Judy Parks, who's the legal counsel. The information you've been given up to this point is all true and correct. And I don't know that I have seen any kind of consistent approach that's been suggested for these kinds of things. For this particular situation, rather than come up with one ad hoc and impose it on this owner, including a deed restriction, I think would be unusual. But we will, as Jason indicated, continue to discuss it because you are correct. We are going to see more of these. And if we can come up with a uniform approach, then it would be the time to enact that into the ordinance and then also bring it to you folks.
Jan, this is Will Page speaking here.
Will?
What everyone is saying is absolutely true. These come on a regular basis. On a regular basis, we have no good answer. And on a regular basis, we cave in. Okay. Mm-hmm. I think, and I would recommend that the Plan and Zoning Commission or the city staff or whoever appoints a subcommittee of the Plan and Zoning Commission to look into this question and to try to debate and come up with some kind of a solution. I say that with respect to staff because I know staff is overwhelmed with everything they have to do. And I think maybe if there's a subcommittee that's actually looking into this, we might get some different ideas and we might get some more action quicker than if we just rely on, things that have happened in the past because we're getting no place quickly. And I think that's unfortunate.
I would agree with you, Will. And I think that's a good solution, or suggestion, I should say. So we need a motion. What's the motion from the commission at this time for this proposal?
I move the staff to approve and allow the principal entrance. I just move the staff recommendation except for the denial and to approve the waiver of the sidewalk with the understanding that the Plan and Zoning Commission will appoint a committee to look into design alternatives and ways to address this problem in the future.
Okay. We have a motion.
One thing I might suggest on that is it's fine for the Planning Commission to have their subcommittee. We might also want to involve the Transportation Safety Committee because this requirement is actually coming out of Move DSM, which is out of that group's. They helped create that plan and would probably want to have some input as well. So we may have to have a kind of a joint subcommittee of the two groups to discuss the issue.
I'd leave that to the plan administrator to form the committee.
Okay, thank you, Will.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion, Mike. Okay, we have a motion. Tyler.
Michaela Berkson.
Yes.
Lisa Howard.
Yes.
Steve Wallace.
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison.
Yes.
Greg Jones.
Yes.
Abby Chungeth.
Yes.
Will Page.
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar. Johnny Alcivar,
No.
Emily Webb,
Yes.
Dory Browse,
Yes.
and Jan Freed.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-1.
Before we go to the next item, I just want to ask a question of Mike or staff. So what needs to take place? Who would initiate Will's suggestion?
Yeah, staff will reach out and ask for the chair to at least nominate a few commission members to look into the issue, and we can set up a Zoom meeting to bring information and discuss and hopefully get a recommendation. Again, I'd like to also involve representation from the Traffic Safety Committee that worked on the MOVE DSM plan.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. Item number 11.
Can everybody see the screen?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, item 11 is located at 1211 East Army Post Road. There's 5 design alternatives they're seeking. One of them is a denied type 1 for the interior parking lot landscaping, which does not meet minimum landscape islands for every 9th space. And we'll get into that further, but that's actually the one item that we're not coming to terms on in terms of staff's review of this. So you might be familiar with the property if you're familiar with the Southridge Mall complex. This building was most recently was the Toys R Us building, just southwest of the intersection of East Army Post Road and Southeast 14th Street. This is looking to the west. Right now there's temporary construction fencing as they begin demoing and some activity that they are allowed to do at this point on the site. Moving further north, still looking west. One thing you might note is the height of the existing light fixtures on the mall complex. This is looking southwest. That's the lot, the parking lot area that would be part of this project. Looking straight south at the north side of the building, kind of getting a sense of the front entrance area. And then how it relates to the parking. This would be the west side of the building looking south. Right now it's loading dock areas. They're proposing parking area in the west rear as well. And there's existing trees and between the mall road and the parking on site. This is looking southeast, east. Again, you can see the shrubs and trees that are up at the edge of the mall, interior mall road. Looking at the former Sears to the south. This is looking onto the south edge of the building, looking to the east, northeast. So this is the mall road that runs east-west along the south side of the site. And then looking back to the north again along the back of the building to the west, that's on the west side of the building, looking almost straight north. This is existing condition. This is the area that they're looking to demo. I believe they're going to be reconstructing a good portion of the pavement. The general site plan. In your packet, this was included, so there you should have the detail, but they're showing detail of where they would have accessible stalls and making sure that the elevations are appropriate for those grades for accessible stalls. This is the grading elevations. More detail at the area where the accessible stalls are. This is the landscape plan. So you'll note there's perimeter areas where they're providing a lot of plantings. They're showing existing trees in this area on the west, plantings along the south of the building, plantings on the perimeter areas of the parking, but not interior islands where the standard would be every ninth space would be a tree planter. The intent of this is really to get shading of the site and mitigate the reflection of pavement and the heat that gets generated by that, in addition to softening the overall appearance of the parking. Utility plans. This is the elevation of the building, looking to the front entrance, which is going to be on the east side of the building, facing towards Southeast 14th. They're actually proposing to open it up with additional glass. However, they are not recessing the entrance. They're due to the existing design and really to stay in the spirit of the architectural design. They're not proposing to do a recessed entrance, but they will have a more of a vestibule type entrance here in the front that is flush with the glass they're proposing along the front under the overhang where they're basically creating a drop off. You can see that more from the north elevation view. Again, they're getting more glass along the north and south sides of the building as well. So much better condition than the stark walls of the big box Toys R Us building. More details for the overhang area and materials of the different pieces on the building and the windows. This is an interior floor plate, so you'll see there's a number of, it's going to be broken up quite extensively for workspaces and outpatient clinic rooms. This is a roof plan. What you see is a kind of a large area that's the main mechanical system that's going to serve the building itself. That is proposing to be screened. If you look back at the elevations, that this portion projecting above the building is actually a mechanical penthouse. It's going to take care of a majority of the mechanical equipment on the roof. You're seeing some, I'm putting the cursor on areas that are some small, very small mechanical equipment pieces. Some of these are also vents, which we won't require screening of, but they're choosing to use a coloration of those that blends in with the roof material that they're putting on the roof, which is a white roof material. And so they believe, and staff concurs with them, that those small mechanical pieces are actually better meeting the intent of the code by disappearing into the roof system, the white roof system, rather than drawing attention with separate little enclosed architectural screening systems. One thing I should point out is at the administrative level, we're working, one of the reasons we're also pushing for the interior islands is that to get a pedestrian connectivity here within the mall road system, to meet that intent of the code, to have a pedestrian link from the building into the mall. road system. We've done that. We've had that with some other developments within the mall as well, and asked for those pedestrian linkages. That would probably cause the removal of this line of trees that exists between the mall road and the parking on the west side of the building. So with the removal of those trees, we think having the interior islands would provide some amount of landscaping at the back side of the building between the mall road and the parking lot and the back of the building. Again, here you can see this is a very large area that's not going to have any interior landscaping if we waive that 1 per 9 spaces essentially. They are also falling short of meeting the overall non-pervious. They're very close. They're doing much better than what's existing. We believe that adding the interior islands will get even closer to this, achieving this, but we think that waiving that to the level of where it would still be deficient with the interior islands is acceptable, given the effort and the investment being made here. The staff report outlines the background requirements for considering design exceptions, and then we outlined the design alternatives. And I think somehow this got interjected into I'll go back to that. We laid out the different proposed design alternatives as they're lettered. Again, newly constructed primary entry is not recessed. Staff concurs with the design rationale they provided for deviating from that requirement to be more in conformance with the style of architecture they're proposing. This isn't a building built up to a street with a pedestrian area. It's within a surrounding mall complex, and therefore it's reasonable to allow them that front entrance system. Then again, we just discussed the impervious surface area to exceed 80%. Again, they're coming awfully darn close. They're getting it down to 87%. We think that with the waiver of the interior landscaping, that something could be done better. We could get closer to that 80 if we have the interior landscaping islands as required. But we do concur that getting down to that 80 is getting to the point where that might be a little bit prohibitive, but they'll be close if they can do those interior islands and still achieve the parking that they need, at least from our perspective. As we said, we do not concur with the applicant's desire to forego the interior islands. So if you look at C, it continues over. But we believe that these interior islands are critical to meeting the intent of the code. This is the opportunity when investments being made into the site that we get compliance with our landscape standards that we've had for quite some time, and they've been modified now in the recent code. The way the site is currently is prior to our landscaping requirements that began in 2004, and then we now require even more interior landscaping under the new code. D, allow the lighting poles with fixtures which exceed the maximum 20-foot height requirement per section 135.821E. Again, and I pointed those out in the site shots. There's a very extensive network of those throughout the mall complex. I think we concur that the design scheme should stick with the existing mall complex. At some point, if they were to go in and replace all the units for the mall, then I think compliance would be important. In this case, I think it's more important. Staff believes it's more important that it should be consistent with the aesthetic and style of the mall lightings. And then last, the rooftop mechanical equipment. Again, the biggest impact is actually being covered under this provision, but there's a scattering of smaller units that are not proposed to be architecturally screened, and staff concurs with the argument of the applicant that these units really would actually stand out more if they were screened with architectural screening than they would with their coloration and how they would blend into the roof system that's going to be added. So staff concurs with E. So getting to the staff recommendation, I'm going to see if I can zoom in here a little bit. So staff is recommending denial of the requested appeal of the administrative denial of Part C, which is the waiver, asking for waiver of interior lot landscaping. The requirement is that they provide one per every 9 on-site parking spaces. They're not proposing to add any to the interior. They're beefing up the landscaping on the perimeters, but not providing the interior landscaping. But then staff does recommend approval of the requested design alternatives for A, B, D, and E, subject to providing the required interior lot landscaping and subject to compliance with all the administrative comments of the review. This is the consent map. We didn't get any written comments from surrounding properties. And I will go back to the slide for the conclusion.
Questions for Eric from the commission? Okay. If the applicant's online, please state your name.
Yes, yeah, there's several people, I think, from their design team here. So if they can raise their hand, that way we can take them in the order they want to.
Okay. So, raise your hand or *9 on the phone. I see a couple people. Okay. Mark Schmidt.
Yeah, hi, Mark Schmidt, 115 Fifth Avenue South, La Crosse, Wisconsin, 54650. I'm the architect working on the project. And first of all, I want to thank the staff for working with us on this. I think Eric did a great job of presenting it. And I don't know if I need to address all the comments A through E, but I would at least like to address C, the parking lot islands. And to give everybody a little bit of background, when we first started this project, we were told, and this project, so the way this works is the VA issues a request for lease proposals. We go through this long process of responding to the proposal, and then it takes them about a year to actually award the project. So we started this in 2018. Early 2019. So almost 2 years ago now. So when we started this project, we were told by the mall owner that we needed to provide 208 parking spaces. And we believe that was based on the zoning code at the time, which would have required 4 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet. So when we did this layout, we did everything we could to fit 208 parking spaces on here. That includes 4 motorcycle spaces and then 204 regular and accessible spaces. So when we actually got awarded the project and started working on this, that was the number we moved forward with. And because that was the number that the mall owner had told us, and they were requiring us to meet that. So we had a call with the planning department about 2 weeks ago, and after the call, a number of us stayed on the phone and discussed it. And while we were discussing it, it dawned upon us that perhaps that number, the 208 from the mall owner, was wrong. So we went back and we looked at it and did a little investigation, went back to the mall owner and talked to them about this number, and they were willing to reduce it to 199 spaces. So the 199 is actually what the VA is requiring. That includes 4 motorcycle spaces and 195 regular and accessible spaces. So once we did that, we were actually able to add 8 islands, internal landscape islands, to the parking lot. So we did go ahead and send a revised plan to staff on Tuesday. And I realized that was probably too late to get it into the agenda today, but we do have 2 landscape islands in the west parking lot, 1 in the north parking lot, and then 5 in the east parking lot. And so we're now meeting the landscape island per every 9 parking spaces. So Eric, I don't know if you have that handy. It looked like maybe you were looking for that.
Yeah, I wonder if Frank did you send that to Frank? Or
I sent it to Frank, and I know our project manager also sent that to you later. So
okay,
that was.
I guess I can try to bring it up here if everybody will bear with me while I maneuver to it. I'm going to go offline so you don't have to look at all my stuff on my desktop and everything, but I'll stop sharing and then I'll reshare when I open it. How about that?
Yeah, that was Tuesday at 9:15 a.m.
Could we ask if there are questions for Mr. Schmidt while Eric is pulling that up? If you have any questions on your mind right now, commissioners?
This is Will Page, and I do have one question about the interior islands. Tell me out again, were they landscaped just with lawn or grass, or were they landscaped actually with trees as well?
Let me look at that real quick here. I believe we have trees on all of them now. Yeah, we've added, so each landscape island basically, where we have, basically we've added a tree for every space. So where a landscape island replaced 1 space, there's 1 tree. That's on the west side and the north side of the building. Where there are 2 spaces, there's 2 trees. So that's the latest plan that we sent. We've added the landscape islands, as you can see. On the west side, there's the 2. We've added, it doesn't show up there, but there's 1 on the north, and then there's the 5 on the east. The other thing that plan shows is we did go ahead and add the sidewalk to the west and the south of the building. And Eric showed the kind of the preliminary sketch that we did with the markup, the red lines on the PDF, but now we've hardlined it on our site plan. So we're trying to add the pedestrian connectivity as well as all the landscaping that's required. It's an existing site that was never intended for this kind of use. Never envisioned pedestrian connectivity in the mall, and we've done absolutely everything I think that's reasonable. Really, I think we've pretty much met the letter of the code now.
So just to follow up on my question, here on the east side of the building with the parking lot, the graphic that Eric is showing us now shows us these islands that have been put in place. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, that's such a huge improvement, because when you come down on east 14th Street or up southeast 14th Street and look into this area, it's down in a swale. And as you see now, it's just this wave and ocean of concrete. And to have some green as an aesthetic amenity is a huge improvement.
Other questions for Mr. Schmidt?
Madam Chair, this is Eric Lundy. at the risk of, being off by one island or something, I don't want to say that it complies at this point. But if the commission is comfortable, they could definitely tie an action to what you see on the screen.
Okay, great. Other questions for Mr. Sept? Okay, is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this proposal? Please raise your hand or *9 on your phone, because I thought we had another person who wanted to speak. Perhaps.
It's Derek Weaver. I'm with JD Des Moines, the owner of the property, and just wanted to take the opportunity and thank you all, and also talk a little bit about just how unique an opportunity this is, not only to serve the veterans of Greater Des Moines, which this clinic will do in spades, but also to be part of a revitalization at South Ridge that's been underway for a number of years. Mark described our work with Macerich, the mall owner. They've gone above and beyond to continue the revitalization, and just take an opportunity to tell you how happy we are again to be part of the rejuvenation of this area, and being able to bring much needed health care to the veterans of the community. And we appreciate all that you're doing, everyone in the city, and their support. And we thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Questions for Mr. Weaver from the commission or comments? Okay. Is there anyone online who would like to voice some concerns, speak in opposition? Please raise your hand or *9 on your phone, please. I see a hand. We need a name and address, please. This is 641-891-1428. Please state your name and address.
Jeff McDonald, VA Hospital, 3600 30th Street.
Okay.
VA Engineer, Police Main.
Okay.
I would like to speak in opposition to the actual installation of the islands.
Okay.
We believe that is nice, that the city wants to make that more of a green space, but we think it will impede parking. It will also impede snow removal and drainage during rainy conditions for that parking lot, which all drains east to west toward the entrance of the building. And it will make it difficult for older veterans to try to park their vehicles and then get into the building with canes, walkers, and wheelchairs. And there are going to be quite a few vehicles at this location. And we just think that this, adding these extra islands in the middle would behoove the veterans access and reduce parking spots that we requested per the federal lease.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McDonald. Questions for Mr. McDonald? Questions from the commission? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to voice some concerns about this proposal? Please raise your hand or *9 on your phone. Okay, I'm not seeing any. Would Mr. Sept like to respond to Mr. McDonald?
I guess I know Jeff's concerns. We've been working together on the VA clinic, and we can discuss this more. I think that they're valid, but we're trying to work with the city and balance all the different requirements here. And I think one thing that Jeff talked about was the reducing the number of parking spaces below the VA's minimum requirement. We won't do that. We'll still maintain the VA's minimum requirement, but we're trying to, like I said, work with the city here and make everything jive, meet all the requirements, kind of balance everything that we need to in this project. So I understand where he's coming from. I understand where the city's coming from too. If the council is willing to consider leaving those out for Jeff's concerns, I'm okay with that. I think that the parking lot would work fine with them, but he does make some valid points.
Well, I would like Eric to respond to Mr. McDonald's concerns, or staff. Eric or staff.
Madam Chair, this is Eric Lundy. Certainly, I understand as the occupant to this building, they can certainly express those concerns. We're looking at it from a more holistic approach to how this fits into the context and how it mitigates heat effect. It's actually going to help the life of the parking surface. We believe that the connections that they're accommodating the pedestrian system for people walking to the site, perhaps within the confines of the mall complex, is improved. The visual effect of that along the mall road is preserved by replacing the trees that get taken out by that walkway. Everybody that does a site plan in the city of Des Moines, is going to face operational modification to snow removal, things of that nature. I think it also improves people speeding through the parking lot, which can actually be to the detriment of people walking from their parking space into the building. So I'm not sure that's going to be an obstruction to people getting to the building as much as it might be thought that it would. I think it actually will help control speeds within the parking lot, just by that visual, just that visual nature of having that interruption in the length of the aisles is going to cause people to naturally drive a little slower.
Okay. Are there other questions for either Eric or Mr. Schmidt based on Mr. McDonald's concerns?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I think we would recommend approval of it as presented here.
Okay.
As staff. So that would, again, I think it's safer to say grant the relief subject to this plan. In this case.
Okay. Okay, thank you. We'll close the public hearing. Discussion from the commission. We've heard some concerns. We've heard rebuttal. Discussion or motion.
This is Will Page. I would move approval of the staff recommendation as altered concerning the interior lot landscaping as presented in drawings this evening.
Okay. Any discussion about that motion? Okay, we have a motion. Tyler?
Steve Wallace.
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison.
Yes.
Greg Jones.
Yes.
Abby Chungus.
Yes.
Will Page.
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar.
Yes.
Emily Webb.
Yes.
Dory Briles.
Yes.
Jan Freed.
Yes.
Kayla Berkson.
Yes.
And Lisa Howard.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Thank you. And I just wanted to add that I think that this will be a wonderful addition, value added to the South Side, both for everyone. I think it's a great repurposing of a building in the space. So anyway, thank you. Director's report, Mike.
Yes, Madam Chair. This week, the mayor and city manager did issue a extension of the closure on city buildings to at least December 1st. So we will continue to meet virtually through the month of November, October and November. And again, just thank everybody for their continued patience. Hope everybody's staying safe and healthy, and we'll keep moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to thank everyone. I mean, I think I appreciate, I think attendance is good, discussion is good, and I think it's working fine. So thank you very much. Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, Jan.
Bye-bye. Everybody.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.